So we're all Christ followers here. What does it mean to follow Christ? Anyone can answer this. We actually just got out of a time of prayer and a little bit of conversation. It's been heavy on Paul's heart to actually walk it like he talks it in terms of following Christ. Everyone else in the group is kind of slacking, including me. So what does it mean to follow Christ? If anyone wants to answer that, yeah.
You want me to start? No, I'm not feeling nothing right now.
You had.
We'll start off with the first easy bullet point is dying to your flesh. What does that mean?
Sure.
What does that mean?
Oh, okay. So if you think about the past month, there's been a lot of hot topics popping up.
Yep.
From the Dodgers to Target to what else is going on?
Hot topics.
Pride, yeah, for sure.
I feel like the way of the world.
We prayed against seeking attention and doing things that are cool, but Randall, he's really fighting his flesh right now.
Fighting
He's
it.
not fighting. He's in it.
I'm having fun,
The
bro.
flesh is taking over
I'm
right
sorry,
now.
He's definitely single, ladies.
Look at him.
I didn't
He's-
know.
he's-
Look at all that chest
By
hair.
the way, the only
Yep.
single man on this podcast.
Only
Randall
single man
Deeb.
on this podcast.
I didn't know.
Ladies.
I didn't know that
He's available.
not being in the flesh means you can't have fun. I'm sorry.
I question your motives. Go ahead.
Well, I was saying,
I like
just
Hey, don't judge me, bro.
Paul, don't
I'm allowed to
hide.
judge
Don't
you.
hide
Like,
there,
we're
Paul.
both
make sure you cut back to him every time. But no, I was saying like the topics that we're seeing, we can clearly see how the world is encouraging people to live for the flesh, like to live for self gratification. Yeah. It's what is that? What do they call that? What's that? The word. It's a word.
No, it's a syllable. It's a syllable.
Word, yeah.
No, but it's like a word where you only live for pleasure. You only
Oh,
live
hedonistic.
for hedonistic.
Is that what you mean?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Decadent? I don't know.
Yeah, hedonism.
Okay.
Hedonism. Yeah.
Good.
That's the word.
Nice.
Anyway, I think as Christians we're called to do the exact opposite. And so I feel like a lot of us are just in the tension of like, dang, I got to die to my flesh. My flesh is pulling for me to do this. But God is like, no, do that. Live this way. Live this way. Live this way. And it's such a stark contrast from what the world says, There's and even what our flesh wants. So it's just constantly like a war.
Yeah.
You got a verse?
Yeah, actually, it's James 4:4 to 6 or 7. It says, "You adulterous people, don't you know that friendship with the world means enmity against God? Therefore, anyone who chooses to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God. Or do you think Scripture says without reason that he jealously longs for the Spirit he has caused to dwell in us? But he gives us more grace. That is why Scripture says God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble." And then 7, "Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come near to God," which was what we were talking about earlier, "and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded." And whatever. It keeps going.
What's so crazy are you talking about the president's post?
Go ahead.
I didn't even read. What is it?
It might be
I don't even know how I saw it because I'm not on social right now. But it was, I saw it on the news at the gym.
You watch the news? No, I'm just kidding.
No, it was a post. He had the pride flag behind him. And he's like, "We are a nation of pride."
Oh, my God.
And
He
I
ain't
was
wrong,
like-
though. He ain't wrong.
No, he ain't wrong, but he
Yeah.
also ain't wrong in the fact that he's like literally condemning us by
for
making
sure,
that
for sure.
declaration.
The declaration.
He's embracing and championing the chief vice.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like the mother of all vices.
Yeah.
He's fully.
And
How
what way?
fully embraced
And what a better way
My
to make
mind was blown.
a nation fall, right?
So I was thinking about. This is what I was gonna say. It's wild to me, the way people just do not realize how intentional Satan's perversion is. Because think about Pride Month.
Yeah.
Now, what's the first time in human history in the Bible where humans came together and united over pride, over an overweening pride, hubris? And what did they do? What was that?
They built the Tower of Babel.
The Tower of Babel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let us build a tower to make to the heavens and make our own temple and our own city, our own religion, our own confession, our own language
Yeah.
against God, and then so therefore God confused their language. Okay.
Yeah.
Besides the point that our culture is obviously trying to take and grasp the reins of language that people are allowed to use. Besides that, what I was going to say was, what was God's answer to that? Or confuse their
confuse
speech.
the tongue.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Or
Sorry.
spreading them.
My mistake. What I meant to ask
Okay.
was, I'm sorry. What I meant to ask was, what was that sin of pride? What did it follow immediately after? Is what I meant to ask. My mistake. What was?
I want to say like the most basic thing, destruction, the fall of the tower, all that.
Well, what was right before? No. So what? So what? What was the story right before the Tower of Babel? Is what I'm asking. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was it was the flood of Noah, right?
Oh,
Right. Okay.
I was thinking immediate.
So the Tower of Babel was the main fall from the reinstitution of God's creation with Noah. The main instance of that, the fall after that was the Tower of Babel was pride. Okay. And what was the covenant that they fell from?
The rainbow.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
The promise.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's fitting in a very twisted, perverted way. It's fitting.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense
Yeah.
that Satan's flag for this, and not only the flag, but the primary vice
Yes.
that informs and
Which also represents the movement
yes,
as well.
and unites the movement, is not only pride, which is the problem of Babel.
Yeah.
Let us build a tower and make our own speech, our own tongue, our own language, our own confession, but also the rainbow. Let us take for ourselves what God has made for His glory, for His holiness,
Yeah.
to declare His His reality.
Yeah.
And then let's make it our own. To declare what God gave us to declare His love, let us make it a symbol of our perversion of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about that is naturally a prideful person doesn't go around saying, I'm proud.
Yeah.
I have pride. But this movement is so overt in telling you
Yeah.
exactly what they're about.
Yeah.
Which is it's just crazy.
Shamelessness. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're deep in thought, Paul. What do you think?
I'm just listening. No, I got nothing yet. I'm just soaking it in.
This podcast is brought to you by
Yeah.
Prime.
Right. Oh yeah.
Oh, here. We'll take the time to.
Okay.
Randall's going to try Prime for the first time.
So, do you want to tell him why?
Oh.
Why I'm the one?
That's it. Organic truffles.
All right. None of
Brought
these
to you
places
by-
are actually sponsored.
Hey, did you buy that for him, Randall? Did he buy that for you?
No.
Nick, tell them why I'm drinking this. Why do you
Randall
want me to
is
dark?
really against Prime.
chocolate
He doesn't like Logan Paul. He's really
Bro.
jealous of him and his body and everything about Logan Paul. So he's just
That's the reason.
boycotting Prime just for that.
Yeah. So
specific reason.
It's so
I'm on a campaign against Prime.
Oh,
But he's
okay,
gonna
so
try it.
you
He did-
boycott Prime,
Yes.
but you won't boycott Target?
Hey, they have good deals.
Guys.
They have the cat food I want. They have good deals. They have the cat food I want.
Randall was
Wait a
at-
minute. Wait a minute.
Randall was at
Wait
Target a couple
minute.
days ago. No joke.
You've been still going to Target?
Wow.
Just drink it and tell us what
Okay.
you think.
Wow.
You can't prove it.
Everything
You can't
we just
prove it, Paul.
said is
Randall,
Receipts.
null and
Bank
void.
statements. Let's go.
Just drink it and
he
tell us
sent
what
me
you think.
pictures.
It's good, huh? You know what it reminds me of?
Okay. Yes.
The orange.
Yes. It obviously tastes good. They knew
Hey.
But here.
That's it.
No. Let me explain. Obviously, they made it taste good, but they did that at the expense of the
try it.
actual benefits they're
right.
marketing. So I wouldn't care. Look, if they were honest
A
about
little
what
backwash left.
here's my problem is that they're not honest about what it is. That's it. So it's like the same thing as like Bible translations that aren't translations.
Like the Passion Translation?
Right. It's like look, I have no problem with the passion
The message.
and the message
What?
and what hold on.
Oh
hold
my
on.
God.
Can you let me finish my sentence?
Blasphemy.
Can you let me finish my
Yes,
sentence,
yes,
please?
yes.
I have no problem with the passion, the message, whatever what have you. What's the other one? Is the amplified. Just don't call them translations because they're not. Just call them what they are.
funny.
They're paraphrases.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said today, Julius?
What's a transliteration?
Did you hear what I don't know.
That's something else.
Yeah, that's what happened.
I used the message. I used the message today, and I basically gave that whole spiel.
Yeah. So to me, those paraphrases are basically like commentaries,
But-
like devotional commentaries in the first person is how I put it.
Yeah.
So it's like reading.
Okay.
Look, but the problem. No, look, Ace.
No,
You're misunderstanding
Message-
me.
okay.
No. You're misunderstanding me. I am completely against. Listen, Ace. I'm
Okay.
completely against them all. But I'm telling you why. It's not because of the project and principle. It's because of the way they mislead people into thinking it's
For
the
sure.
word of God when it's not. That's the problem.
I'm just more.
So, which translation should we stop before?
I want to hear what
Oh.
Ace is
Well, I don't have any like reservations much on the Message, Amplified, whatever. It's just the Passion Translation itself. Just that one. It's burn it.
Why?
That's
Why?
it.
Because it came out of Bethel.
Did it no, it's not even that.
The
Initially,
Bethelonians made it popular.
initially, I don't think it did, but the person that brought about, he claims that he has other scholars that helped him do it, but whenever they, fact check him, where's the receipts? Never answers them. He says he has this revelation from God, like Joseph Smith, that the Lord showed him all this. He's going to teach him this new dialect of Hebrew.
Wait, really?
Yes, bro. Like he said he was in heaven in the library with the Lord, and Jesus was like, yo, I'm going to teach you a new language that no one knows. You're going to rewrite the Bible. And it's like,
Okay.
it's like heresy.
So I didn't. Okay, so I didn't know that.
Straight up. That's why I'm like, burn it.
So that, you know what that smacks of? It smacks exactly. That's what happened. That's what was the claim with
Pride, which is our conversation.
Witness Lee. So the Witness Lee cult, which is it's not as big as it used to be, that they had the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that had that problem was I just had it.
Mormons.
No. Besides them, besides the obvious, it was another like claim within like.
Is it a big
I can't
church?
remember.
The Schofield Bible.
I just had it in my mind.
The international.
Just kidding.
No.
Okay, never mind.
I have to think about it. Anyway, but
Anyhow, yeah.
You weren't triggered by that, Randall? I thought that was funny.
what'd you say?
The Schofield.
So that's why the only reason why I'm so headstrong on that one, like, burn it, throw it away.
Is this a tangent?
The other ones, I'm like, okay, when you brought about
I remember.
their paraphrases, I'm like,
To-
okay, I can see where that can actually help people.
Yes.
But this one is like almost rewriting.
Well,
you know?
it's because of the way it's presented.
I love the Schofield Bible, by the way.
So if now look, if the guy, I forgot his name. I used to know his name. The guy who did the Passion. If he, and by the way, they actually, it's hard to find his name because they don't want you to know that it was just one guy. But I remember when it first came out, it was more easy to find. But you know who else did this was. So they actually Joseph Prince has done that where he claims to have like
From Singapore.
exclusive revelation about what certain Hebrew words mean
From
for Hebrew letters.
Joseph
and
Prince,
stuff.
the mega church.
Yeah, I know. I used to like
the
his sermons. And then he started
Singaporean
talking about. I know.
Joel Osteen, right?
Yeah. So
wow.
him, and then the other one is
I know, I used to like
the
him
Hebrew
too.
Roots movement does the same thing.
Yeah.
So
For sure. Yeah, so that's why. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So back to the original question. Not bad tangents at all. What does it mean to be a Christ follower? We talked about what does it mean to die to flesh. Talked about pride. But what does it mean to be a Christ follower?
Well, I think it's the opposite of pride.
Humility.
Humility, yeah.
What does
Paul,
that look like?
Peel that back a little bit.
Peel it back.
Peel it
Yeah.
back like some. Never mind.
Like in it.
like a banana.
Like a banana. Yeah.
What is it? What do people
Forgot
say?
the cameras were on for a
It's
second.
not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. Is that the same
Yeah.
thing?
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yes.
Humility.
So my favorite passage that I go to combat humility is
Combat humility or pride?
I'm sorry.
I'm like,
Sorry.
whoa.
To combat
I'm
humility.
like, oh, what you doing?
Pride.
I'm like, what?
I'm one of those guys. What's that in Matthew? I think it's Matthew 20 or Matthew. Yeah, it's 20 where James and John bring their mom to talk to Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of us have these desires to be seen. All of us have these desires to have power and to be affirmed by the world. But Jesus basically calls them to, don't lord your authority around. Be a servant. And I talked about this in the last podcast, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I really love that passage. Because humility tells you, deny yourself now,
Yeah.
deny your flesh now, and then now you're holding on to the promises of God and saying, I'm going to deny what's gratifying now, and I'm going to trust God at his word that he's going to reward me in the future. So I think true humility, there's faith involved in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like Philippians 2, Christ obeyed to the point of death and became a slave. And I think the New Living Translation got that translation right, because the NIV would say servant, but the real translation is doulos, right? Slave. He became a slave. He stripped himself of all his rights, right?
Yeah.
And then he was elevated to a place of honor. So he held on to that promise that God will elevate him. So I think real humility is about thinking about eternity. It's about denial of what's easy and gratifying now, and just really holding on to the promises of God. Yeah. Go ahead, Randall.
No, I want you to finish because I want to add something after.
Yeah. But well, that's all I got.
Yeah. So I think you're painting the one side of the picture, and I want to paint the other, because humility is, like you said, humility before God, where you deny your flesh for his sake. But I want to also emphasize that humility isn't real until it's not just before God, but before man. Because I know a lot of people who, you when they get into prayer, man, they are like on their face. Yeah. They are humble before God. Well, of course, he's God, and they have such a reverence for God. And they have an excellent exercise of humility before the Lord in the secret place. But they're not willing to demonstrate any humility before the face of man, to actually serve man. So this is the thing, when Jesus... The reason why the disciples were surprised when Jesus served them, like when he washed their feet and stuff, is not because it's not because they didn't agree that humility was like a prime virtue. Of course they did, but this is the problem of the Pharisees, right? They thought that humility was just something that was supposed to be before God, but then before man, you present yourself so that you are that you are seen. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'm just
like
adding
dignified.
Yeah, exactly.
You present yourself dignified before.
Well, so like Jesus, Philippians 2, he became a slave.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And people mocked him. So the hardest time to actually, for me personally, the hardest season in my life where I practiced humility was actually in ministry. I think that's when the Lord really challenged me with that. Because in ministry, there is this desire you have this desire for the pulpit. You have this desire to be who's the closest to the pastor. Or, who gets the, that's a good word. I like what he said there.
Yeah.
All of that just bubbled up when I worked at church.
Yeah.
And I was in a ministry that subconsciously, maybe not subconsciously, I really thought it. It's like, well, this is just a stepping stone ministry. I was in hospitality. I'm just...
as if like you're going to continue graduating from this one to that one, but in more glory and honor.
I looked down.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right, but I looked down on that ministry. I didn't realize that that in God's economy, he's not looking at titles or anything like that or where you are, but your faithfulness to service. But every part of me is like, Lord, when am I going to feel like I'm doing something for your kingdom? When am I going to be up there with the pastors? When am I going to, all these different things started to bubble up, right? And I felt like I wasn't being used because of the position that I was in. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally.
And so I wanted to lord my authority through my title But you kind of dress it up and like, but I'm nice to people. I'm not lording. No, you're lording it in your mind.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? When you meet somebody and they've accepted with all humbleness and gladness where the Lord wants them.
Yeah.
It's not up here. It's not over there. It's like literally down here. It's looked down upon by society. But when they tell you, this is what the Lord wanted me to do, and I know it, and you're just like, you can't even compute in your mind, right? It's like, it actually reminds me of my mom. For a long time, I'm like, man, you haven't like grown or excelled in all my life. In 30 years, you could have been already over here. And then we clashed a lot, but one day I finally got to a place where we had a conversation, and I just asked her like, why? And she was just like, this is what the Lord called me, was to have all of you guys. And this is where, like, not only that he wants her to be there, but she wants to be there too, and she's accepted it and she loves it. And I was just so flabbergasted at that, where I was like, so you don't, like, trying to come up with some type of question to get to her to even think of something better now. Nope. She knows what her job was, and she's like, this is the job he had for me. And it's like, oh, how do you even, that's still like something hard for me to even grasp, right?
Well, so she's demonstrating what our culture is missing that you were talking about. You were saying the way that we chase after the things of the flesh and and the way we're messaged by the culture to do that. So we dress it up in nice language like, follow your dreams, but really what that translates to is like selfish ambition.
Yes.
And you find a way to make it sound like it's virtuous, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's just your own selfish ambition, and you call it your dreams or whatever. I'm not saying that everyone's dreams is at the core evil. What I'm saying is it needs to die so that it can rise again in a new form, according to God, according to the Spirit.
With true humility,
it needs to be everything good needs to be circumcised first, needs to die, and then come back in a glorified form according to God, not according to the Spirit, not according to the flesh. So there's always flesh that needs to die from. So your mom is demonstrating, there's a Puritan named Jeremiah Burroughs. He has a book called The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment. And you don't even have to read the book, and you already know from the title, you already get from the title the sense of its message. So your mom has that. Your mom understands where, she understands the fullness of glory that will come in the age to come. This is what Paul is talking about. Simply by being faithful with what you're given.
Yeah.
Rather than grasping after the fruit, the forbidden fruit, the fruit of the knowledge of good. That's the thing, is we always want to grasp after our own glory, we want to take into our hands that power. But your mom surrendered it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that's the problem with all of the movements that are modern, is it's a grasping after power before the time.
Yeah, and to kind of not segue into another, rabbit hole, but just kind of like bring it back around with another subtopic. It's like, that's why I always push back when I hear somebody talk like, when you follow the Lord, blah, 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 you're going to have abundance. You're going to have a prosperous life. I always raise up my hand and I'm like, but what if the Lord actually wants you to stay here for the rest of your life? Broke.
Yes.
And not having your best life now, not having, all the riches, not having the titles, not having the honor, the glory from the world. What
would
if he
you
just
walk
wants
away
you,
sad?
Yeah, would you walk? Well, not walk away sad, but would you walk away in humility?
Like the young rich ruler.
Or that's why I always push back, bro. And I'm just like, would you be okay with that? Because if, again, you go to the New Testament, you look at exactly what Jesus said. He's like, if they hated you, just remember they hated me first. Or I believe it's in James, it talks about you're going to have trials. A lot of trials. So it's like, wait. You guys keep talking about this abundant, prosperous life. But I think they need to actually take it a step further and talk about the prosperity of it is really the richness of their relationship with Christ. So.
You have something, Julius?
Oh, I was trying to find this passage in Ecclesiastes, but I can't find it.
Gotcha. Yeah, if I could answer the question directly, if that's cool. I know I'm usually the one asking the questions, but
Yeah, go for it.
if I can answer the question directly, what does it mean to be a Christ follower? In my mind, I'm very like straightforward when it comes to answering questions. So it's just like radical obedience to God is the first thing that comes to mind, and that's obedience whatever he asks. So it's along the same lines of what we're talking about. And to be a Christ follower means you're to follow Christ, which we try to do and we fail miserably.
Yeah.
Just about every day. Hopefully not every hour, but every day. And it means following him in everything that he did and following the example that he lays out for us. And that can be summed up in 2 commands: and loving God and loving people. And he loved God to the point where he radically obeyed God to the point of death on the cross. And like Paul was talking about, he did not look at equality with God as something to cling to, but took the position of a slave. So every day we are supposed to take the position of a slave.
In radical obedience.
And we do take the position of a slave every day, but we're not always in the position of a slave to God or position of a slave to Christ.
Yeah.
We're a slave to our flesh. We're a slave. It's really the 2 things. We're either a slave to our flesh or we're a slave to God. Hopefully we're not a slave to directly the enemy. If we're a slave to the flesh, we're not friends with God, so therefore we're enemy of God. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But I think plain and simple, that's what it means to be a Christ follower. If I could sum it up in that one phrase, is radical obedience to God in the same way that Christ radically obeyed God.
Even unto
You're
death.
here.
No, spirit
Christ
hands.
obeyed even unto death.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I already said it, we fail at this miserably often.
Yeah.
And that's the process of sanctification, is failing less.
Yes.
It's almost like the process of sanctification might be because we want the glory. It's like wanting the glory less and less and less and less and less until
I must decrease
until we
must
like
increase.
He must
give God
increase.
His
Yeah.
glory.
But we
You know?
hear this all the time, and it's Christianese.
Yeah.
You know, it's
What is?
just hearing that.
Yeah,
Hey,
go deeper into that, Paul.
We got to decrease. Yeah, but what does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Like,
what
spell
does
that
it
out
mean?
in your life. What does that mean? What does it mean to be humble in your life? Like right now, talk to me about humility in your life right now. What do you got to give up? If the Lord were to go ahead and command you and give something up, what would cause you to walk away
Dude.
sad?
Bro.
But we just hear it,
Bro.
but we're not really.
Can I
What would cause you to walk away sad?
Yeah.
That's my exclamation
can
point.
I speak on something on that in my life? You know, the text I sent you guys earlier, right? I feel like that's the place where he has me right now, where I'm like struggling with, okay, Lord, are you stripping me away from this business where it can so easily be all about me? The more that I've been getting closer to God, the more that I've been so repulsed at the idea of like making everything about me, right? Like having to do videos and talk about, you know, the real estate stuff and whatnot. I've been getting so repulsed by it, and it's like with what's been happening with my business and now where I'm at, my prayers I feel like are actually getting answered, where I'm like, Lord, take me away. I don't want to be even in the spotlight for anything. You know, I don't even want to be known. It actually like makes me sick to my stomach that I'm known as a loan officer. I want to be known for you, Christ, and you alone. And now that I'm there, I'm like, what's going on? But I'm really thinking in my mind, Lord, is this what you're really doing? Like, are you positioning me somewhere where it's like, this is where you're truly going to want me to be the rest of my life?
Hey, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you were blessed by the conversation. If you wouldn't mind just leaving a quick comment, let me know what you thought of the conversation, as well as share it with a friend, and even subscribe to stay up to date with all content just like this. I love you guys, and I hope to hear from you soon.